My name is Alexander, and I am a supervised lawyer faced with the ethical dilemma about whether or not to report another solicitor, Asher, for misconduct. For reasons that I will outline, I would report Asher for misconduct. After first assessing the situation, the ethical decision-making model then requires me to assess the law and values which might influence my decision. If I were to consider Rules 9.1 and 9.2.2 of the ASCR, I might be inclined to keep Asher's secret. This is because those rules highlight the importance of keeping the client's confidentiality as much as possible. I also consider the Nicola Gobbo Lawyer X scandal. Here, a barrister was eventually deregistered for representing clients as a barrister, while also leaking defence strategies to the Victorian Police as a police informant. Importantly, this is not a criminal matter and Asher is not my client, so how compelling are these sources really to my dilemma? Well, Rule 5 of the ASCR appears much more compelling. It states that a solicitor must not engage in conduct in the course of practice or otherwise, which demonstrates that the solicitor is not a fit and proper person to practice law. This principle is reflected in the Legal Profession Act Section 9 and the Criminal Code Section 133, which in part states that it is an indictable offence to conceal an indictable offence. In the LSC and Mullins, a barrister misled the respondent's solicitor by relying on a medical report which contained information which he knew to be false. Similarly, for me to run Kim's case on the basis of information which I know to be false, as in Kim not being the original signatory to the mortgage, this would be just as misleading. In Mullins' case, on paragraph 31, it was said that the fraudulent deception involves such a substantial departure from the standard of conduct to be expected of legal practitioners of good repute and competency as to constitute professional misconduct. I worked with Isabel, who came to the same conclusion as me, and I think was able to present an extremely compelling argument for the decision to report Asher. Isabel, like me, looked to the traditional values, ASCR and Criminal Code for guidance. We did have differing interpretations of the Criminal Code, but I think ultimately Isabel was correct. I was unable to find anything stating that people had a mandatory duty to report criminal offences, whereas Isabel found Section 133, which again in part states that it is an indictable offence to conceal an indictable offence. Isabel and I both independently came to the same conclusion that there is no universality in keeping Asher's secret because it might lead to the public perception that solicitors are liars and this would damage the profession. The ethical decision-making model then requires that we consider our own values. I value loyalty and honesty which conflict in this case. This is because to keep Asher's secret might appear dishonest, whereas to report Asher might appear disloyal, though I don't really owe any loyalty to Asher as she is not my client. Interestingly, Isabel wants to be the kind of lawyer that conforms with the rules. While I agree with this in principle, I would have liked to know which specific values are important to her as a person. The ethical decision-making model then requires me to collate all the information gathered and form a decision. I would look to the ethical decision-making model, ASCR, Legal Profession Act, Criminal Code, and previous LSC decisions for guidance. LSC and Mullins was the most compelling source which guided my decision. For me to keep Asher's secret would likely be seen as a substantial departure from the standard of conduct expected of me as a lawyer, and I could not in good conscience run Kim's case on the basis that she was the original signatory to the mortgage when she wasn't, and for this I would report Asher. Both Isabel and I agree that as supervised solicitors, we would not make any unilateral decisions to report Asher without first discussing this with our supervisors and the QLS Ethics Committee. Thank you.